What's going on, guys? So today we're talking about Myo-Reps. Now, chances are you may have never even heard the term Myo-Reps before, and that's okay. Sit back, relax, we're gonna talk about it in this video. So, long story short, Myo-Reps is a training tool that I think every lifter should be cognizant of and keep in their training toolbox when they're trying to get in quality training volume with time constraints. So if you have to cut a workout short and you still want to get in quality volume, how are you going to do so? Myo-Reps is a fantastic tool for doing so. Now let's dive into a little bit of the background on Myo-Reps, and then we'll discuss how to actually use them and what movements they're usually best for, and some benefits that come along with using Myo-Reps. Now it is worth noting that you can use Myo-Reps in your normal training program. It doesn't just have to be for times when time is a little short. It is just a fantastic tool to be cognizant of when you do have time constraints. Now, where did Myo-Reps originate? Well, in the mid-2000s, Norwegian strength coach Borge Fagerli introduced this rep scheme to the world of lifting. And since then, he's kind of critiqued it and improved the overall efficacy of using Myo-Reps in different training programs for different adaptations. And the background on Myo-Reps is essentially it's trying to limit junk volume. We know when we do like a set of 12, right? We're not gonna have effective reps throughout the full set. The first few reps, we're not gonna get a lot of mechanical load and tension from because we're not fatigued, we're not near task failure, and so forth. So the whole idea behind Myo-Reps is being able to push ourselves closer to task failure in a more time condensed time. This is a fantastic way to once again push closer to task failure, get in a lot of work in a shorter amount of time, but also make that work count. So getting in quality training volume. Now let's dive into how to structure Myo-Reps and what movements generally work best with this. Now a quick note though, in week 16 of Pheasyque Lab, we do talk about Myo-Reps and we actually include them into a training block to help our clients and lifters understand what it means to use Myo-Reps just so they can then have another tool that they can keep in their lifting toolbox. Now, let's talk about Myo-Reps and how they're generally structured. So the first set you are going to do with Myo-Reps is going to be called an activation set. This is a set where we are pushing the rep scheme higher and going closer to task failure before we dive into the little mini sets. So an example of this would be doing something like a leg extension, which is a more single joint exercise. Generally with your exercise selection of Myo-Reps, you don't want to choose anything that can have a lot of mechanical breakdown throughout. You want to choose something that's a little bit more simple in nature and it's a little bit more feasible to do for a higher rep scheme without technical breakdown. So in our example, we're going to talk about leg extension. So the first set, we would do a set of 20 in the leg extension. Now you can choose a rep scheme that works for you, but for this example, I'm going to use 20 and we're going to push to about 1 to 2 reps in reserve. So we're going to get pretty close to task failure. Now Borge recommends that for beginners, look to about 30% of their 1RM for that movement, and then like intermediates at around 40%, and then advanced and elite can go around 50% of their 1RM. So choose your weight accordingly, and more than likely, you're not gonna nail it your first try. You're gonna have to probably play with this rep scheme for a couple workouts. So once you do your first activation set with your set rep scheme, so we just did leg extension for 20 reps, we push close to failure. We're gonna take about 3 to 5 breaths and relax for like 15 to 30 seconds. Borge recommends doing breath work for your rest. I think that's a fantastic tool too, because that's also what we use for things like planks and so forth. I think it's a little bit more intuitive when it comes to resting. Plus, I think focusing on your breath is just a fantastic tool for focusing on expansion and compression. But we do our activation set, we take 3 to 5 breaths, and then we do a second mini set. And this mini set is going to include 5 reps. We're gonna do the same thing where we take 3 to 5 breaths and do a second mini set of 5 reps. And as you probably guessed, we're gonna do the same thing and then do a third set for 5 reps. Essentially what we wanna do is we wanna try to hit a similar rep scheme for 5 total sets. If we have a drop off in a rep, so let's say on set 3, we had 5, and then on set 4, we only are able to get 4 reps, we're gonna cut our Myo-Rep set there. So if we drop a rep throughout the mini sets, we cut our set there. More than likely, if it's on like set 2 or 3, you might have went too heavy on that first set. We want to get somewhere around 3 to 4 to 5 sets ideally. Again, this is a training scheme that's going to take a little bit of work dialing in because we are going from a higher rep scheme to shorter mini sets with shorter rest periods. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a plug and play for a lot of us to nail these sets the first try. Now, ideally what we want to do is take 3 to 5 mini sets after an activation set. And what we want to do as well is focus on creating a nice level of time under tension throughout those. So in the leg extension example in this video, I was trying to contract as hard as I could at the top, and then in some of the mini sets, I would do a hold at the top just to prolong the overall time under tension with the set. If I felt like it was really light during one of the mini sets, I would add holds and then scale back if I felt like I was gonna reach task failure before my 5 reps. Now, when it comes to movements for Myo-Reps, this is where, as a lifter and a coach, you're gonna have to interpret your expertise and also your setting and what's actually feasible for you. Generally speaking, more like single joint exercises are a little bit easier for beginners and intermediates to wrap their minds around with Myo-Reps because we are used to not having to worry about technical breakdown nearly as much with these exercises. So doing something like a banded curl is going to be a little bit easier to get for 20 reps or a higher rep scheme without technical breakdown compared to something with a squat. Plus, I think it can be a little bit difficult for some folks really dialing in and finding their true like 30, 40%, 50%, 1 RM of their squat when it comes to hitting something like 20 reps. Now, the big thing and the big takeaway here is with Myo-Reps, your first activation set doesn't have to be 20 reps. You can scale it accordingly. The big point is that you want to take mini sets that range between 3 to 5 reps that are pushing somewhat close to task failure without a huge technical breakdown in them. So it's going to be really open to your interpretation on what movements you think fit best with this rep scheme. But I think it is a fantastic tool, especially for keeping workouts concise and challenging yourself in a different way. If you are gonna program Myo-Reps, I would suggest doing it for a full mesocycle, so 3 to 4 to 5 weeks tops, and then getting back to your normal training. All right, so what are some of the benefits of Myo-Rep sets? Well, you probably already guessed the first one I'm gonna mention, and that is they're a fantastic tool for getting in quality training volume when we have concise time parameters. The second benefit that I personally like them for is that as a coach, it allows me to set some level of parameters for athletes where I can kind of have an idea of where they'll fall when it comes to their success with Myo-Rep training, but it gives them the ability to kind of scale and pick their weight accordingly and push themselves in different ways. It's nice to change up the rep scheme from your just general like 5 to 8 and push like 20, 25 reps, 30 reps, and then do mini sets after, because it's not only a mental challenge, but it's also a nice different physical challenge. So the second benefit is it's a nice change up from your traditional training, especially if you are kind of hitting that point of fatigue or burnout when it comes to just your traditional sets and you want to try something new that gets you in and out of the gym fast, but also gets you some quality training volume. The third benefit that I like Myo-Reps for is that it can be customizable based on your needs. Now again, I mentioned this in the programming section, how to use Myo-Reps, but be selective with your exercises based on your expertise, your overall fitness level, and what you're actually doing. For most folks, I would not recommend using Myo-Reps for compound movements just because I think it's a little bit tougher to scale those. There's no perfect cookie cutter answer here. It's just gonna come down to a plug and play with what's feasible for you and what aligns with your goals and needs. The fourth benefit with Myo-Rep sets is that I think they can be a really good tool for helping people understand what it means to reach task failure. Myo-Rep sets I think can be a really good tool for helping us unlock what it feels like to push a lighter weight closer to task failure. So Myo-Reps can be, I think, a good tool for helping us understand that we can push ourselves for higher reps and push closer to task failure with lighter weights, and that then can unlock other parts of training that we might not even be cognizant of if we just always reach for 5 reps, 6 reps, 8 reps, and so forth. That wraps up this video on Myo-Reps. This is not an original idea that I'm coming up with. Full credit to Borge Fagerli for introducing this to the lifting world, and also if you want to learn more on this topic, we do cover it in Pheasyque Lab. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Coach Ojen wrote a dynamite lesson on this topic in the lab, and our clients are currently loving it because it's a nice change up from our normal training volume and training scheme. But as always, guys, if you have any questions, drop them below, like the video, give the channel a subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.